Morning, Coach. How you doing?
Oh, Mark, how you doing?
Obviously, doing good. Obviously, when we can talk hockey, doing much better these days.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Obviously, the big question on most people's mind is the goaltending situation, and I'm just wondering how you go about evaluating, past performances. Obviously, Henrik's history against the team, but how you evaluate what goes on in this short and truncated camp, what you're looking for from your goaltenders to help you make that final decision.
Yeah, well, a lot is going to go into this decision because of the unique circumstances. And I actually had a meeting with all three of them today, telling them how important the next 3 weeks are going to be. That being said, it's not just about these last 3 weeks. There's also a lot of other things to take in consideration. To your point, Henrik's success against these guys, the seasons guys were having, what was going on when we left off. So there's going to be a lot that goes into it. But in the one position, probably more than any, these next 3 weeks are going to be pivotal for the goaltenders.
Beyond just the goalies, I'm curious, how much do you look at this as a competitive situation where spots are kind of up for grabs based on how guys play in this short period? And how much are you, wanting to continue the good vibes and everything that you guys had going on in the regular season? And will, the players, the way they performed in those 70 games, weigh into who will be the guys you lean on for the playoffs?
Yeah, we want to pick up where we left off. And obviously, one of the things that's great about where we were is that we really liked a lot of that was going on with the chemistry amongst our lines and our deep pairing. So, I want to give these guys an opportunity to find that again. That might take some time because every guy's had an opportunity to do different things when it comes to staying sharp during this 4-month break and downtime. Some guys have had access to more things than others. So, some guys are ahead of other guys, and that's just the reality of the situation we're in. So we want to give our guys an opportunity. We certainly are putting a lot of stock in what went in during the regular season. So, just because a guy has a bad practice today or tomorrow or the next day doesn't mean I'm going to take a guy off one of the top 2 lines and bury him, in a situation that he hasn't been accustomed to. So, we certainly want to give our guys an opportunity to kind of find their way.
In putting your groups together today, it looked like you had the group that was with you that we ended with, and then the other guys are sort of in a second group. And I'm wondering, from a mindset standpoint, why'd you do it that way? And is that sort of a signal that your mindset going forward?
Yeah, this isn't training camp. This is we are picking up where we left off, and I want that to be crystal clear to everybody here. This is not training camp. We're trying to win a Stanley Cup. We really liked our team when this whole thing ended. And like I just said, we want to give people an opportunity to find their way. And really, for the first time, in a lot of ways, since I've been the head coach, this is really, I look at it as a third season. And, in our first 2 seasons as a staff, there was a lot of uncertainty. We weren't sure who our first line was, second line was. There was just a lot of question marks. And it feels really good right now coming into this situation where there's clarity on what our lines are going to look like, what our deep pairings are going to look like. Barring something crazy from happening, teams on the floor, as they said in Hoosiers.
I guess, David, to play off of that, does that change your expectations for what this team can do this season? I mean, you were, when the season started, still a rebuilding team, but everybody comes back on an even playing field basically now, unless you're one of those 4 teams that has a bye or is in that round robin. So is your mindset different as you look at it as a third season of what this team should do?
I don't think our mindset is any different than what it was when we ended the season. I think our guys really believed we were going to make the playoffs. I think guys believed in each other. They believed in themselves. They believed in the way we were playing. There was a lot of togetherness. There was a lot of swagger. As I've always said, there's a fine line between having swagger and being arrogant. Our guys certainly weren't arrogant to the point where we thought we could just show up and win. I think we felt like if we showed up and did A, B, and C, we had a good chance to win the hockey game. And I think that's where we need to find, that's what we need to find again. We need to get to that point where when the games start on August 1st, we have our swagger back. And that's going to take a lot of work between now and then.
You had a lot of time and you did a lot of video study in these last 4 months. So my first question actually is, did you notice things that may have surprised you, or you may not have been apparent? And is there anything you learned that may influence your approach to certain players here, your system, anything? And the second question is actually, is this going to be a Carolina specific couple of weeks where you're preparing for?
To be honest with you, Larry, we about last week when we were together as a staff, I finally looked at all the guys and said, I'm so tired of looking and talking about Carolina. I said, we need to coach the New York Rangers. And, there really wasn't one thing that jumped out at me with the video that we were watching. It was maybe a bunch of things that we can do a little bit better within certain areas. And one of the things that I actually watched all of our practices, and some of the things I thought to myself watching the practices that, we can do better, not only as a staff, but also, the players as well. A couple of things we need to clean up from a practice standpoint. That was something that we talked about today as a group, where our practices have to be very efficient over these next 2.5 weeks because we don't have time. And we can't waste a minute of any drill. We've got to be purposeful in everything we do. But at the end of the day, the things we're going to have to do against Carolina, we're going to have to do against everybody. And there are obviously some structural things that change from team to team. There isn't a lot, but there are some certain things we're going to have to do if we're going to have success against Carolina.
Hi, Dave. I'm just I'm curious as to how well you know Gord Murphy, and how you're going to manage that transition to go from Lindy to Gord Murphy.
Yeah, I didn't know Gord well at all. Really, the first time I really got to know him was during the training camp, and really liked his enthusiasm, liked his approach, liked his experience. And we're very fortunate that there is a lot of chemistry between what we're doing here in New York and what Chris and Gord were doing down in Hartford. So, Gord had the defenseman and he handled the penalty kill. And so really, and he's got 10 years of experience, 11 years of experience of being an assistant coach in the National Hockey League. So it really was a no-brainer in a lot of ways. He was really the first guy I thought of when this thing was unfolding. And we're very fortunate to have him.
How do you think you're going to manage the game-to-game adjustments where, you might have to scratch a player that's been one of your players just because of the urgency of the situation? And how do you think you're going to be handling that, fine line?
Yeah, that's going to be a game-to-game situation, obviously. That being said, we have faith in everybody. We think that we've got guys that can step in and play. But again, I think managing that is going to be no different in a lot of ways than the way you manage it in the regular season. I think our guys are going to be clear on what's expected of them, what they're going to have to do. The one thing we don't have now, you can't really let a guy play through a long, long period of bad play. So there may be a little bit of, you may have a little bit of a quick trigger or maybe move things around a little bit quicker than you would in the regular season. But, we want to make this, obviously it is playoff hockey. That being said, it's still hockey. And we need to continue to do the things that we've done throughout the last 2.5 months of the season to put ourselves in a position where we're playing still.
How difficult is it to assess the team's overall evaluation period, making sure that your team is ready once they do head down to Canada? And then the second thing is, what are you looking for? Is there something that you think overall will give you the feeling like, okay, these guys are more than ready once we do take that trip? Because as you mentioned, that it's every second and you can't waste any time on any drills.
Yeah, Justin, one of the things that we're really focusing on, I think our guys were very receptive to it today. I thought they did a really good job today. It was a purpose to everything we did. I thought we were dialed in mentally. We want to do things with a purpose. I thought, obviously it wasn't pretty a lot of the times. It's your first day back in this type of setting and environment. I thought our guys did a real good job of putting themselves in a position where they were trying to do the right thing. And maybe their hands, their head, and their feet all weren't working as one like they normally do in February. But I thought our guys were doing a real good job trying to do the right thing and continuing to understand that what is at stake and what is at stake when August 1st arrives. And games are going to be won and lost between now and August 1st. And I think our guys fully understand that.